I remember holding that Princeton acceptance letter in my hands like it was yesterday. 4 years of late nights, perfect grades, math competitions, and volunteer work had finally paid off. My dream school. My future. Everything I had worked for was right there in black and white. But that evening, my parents called a family meeting. My sister Madison sat across from me with this strange look on her face. My dad cleared his throat and said those words that would change everything. "We need to talk about your college fund." I had no idea my entire world was about to flip upside down. Before I tell you what happened that night, I want to know. Are you watching from a place where family always comes first no matter what? Or do you believe sometimes you have to stand up for yourself even against the people who raised you? Hit that like button if you have ever felt pressured to sacrifice your dreams for someone else. And subscribe because this story has a twist you will not see coming. Now let me take you back to where it all started. I grew up in a suburb outside Hartford, Connecticut. Nothing fancy, just a regular middle-class neighborhood where everyone knew everyone. My dad worked at an insurance company downtown, pulling in a decent salary, but nothing extravagant. My mom was a part-time nurse at the local clinic. We were comfortable, not wealthy, but we never went without. My sister Madison was 3 years older than me. Growing up, she was always the golden child in a different way. She got away with things I never could. Average grades. No problem. Quitting the soccer team halfway through the season. That is just Madison finding herself. Meanwhile, I was the one who had to maintain straight A's, practice piano every day, and never miss a single volunteer shift at the library. Our grandmother Dorothy lived about 15 minutes away in a small cottage with a garden she tended obsessively. She was my grandfather's widow. Grandpa passed away when I was 5 years old, so I barely remember him, but Grandma Dorothy talked about him constantly. He had been an electrical engineer, worked his whole life at a manufacturing plant, and saved every penny he could. When Grandpa died, he left behind something incredible, a trust fund for his grandchildren. $200,000 for me, $200,000 for Madison. The money was specifically designated for college education. Grandma Dorothy was named as the trustee responsible for managing the funds until we were old enough to use them for school. At the time, I did not understand all the legal details. I just knew I had college money waiting for me. That knowledge shaped everything. While other kids stressed about how they would pay for university, I felt secure. I could dream big. I could aim for Princeton. Madison, on the other hand, took a different path. She went to community college right after high school, but it did not stick. She dropped out after 1 year, saying it was not for her, that she needed to find her passion. My parents did not push her. They just nodded and said everyone has their own timeline. She bounced between part-time jobs after that. Retail, waitressing, a brief stint at a marketing agency. Nothing lasted more than 6 months. I went in the opposite direction. I loved school. Math and science came naturally to me, and I actually enjoyed the challenge. I joined the Math Olympiad team freshman year of high school. We traveled to competitions across the state. I placed third in the regional science fair with a project on renewable energy systems. Every summer I volunteered at the local library helping kids with reading programs. My relationship with Grandma Dorothy grew stronger during those years. Every Wednesday after school I would ride my bike to her house. She would make chamomile tea, and we would sit in her kitchen talking about my week, my classes, my plans. She told me stories about Grandpa, how he had grown up poor, how education had been his ticket to a better life, how he had worked 60-hour weeks to provide for his family. "Your grandfather wanted to make sure you kids had opportunities he never had," she told me one afternoon. "That is why he set up those trust funds. He knew education was the key. I felt a responsibility to honor that, to make Grandpa's sacrifice mean something. Junior year of high school, I took my SATs, 1,540 out of 1,600. My guidance counselor said I had a real shot at Ivy League schools. I applied early decision to Princeton for their engineering program. It was a long shot, but I had to try. March of my senior year, the email came. I was at school when the notification popped up on my phone. I waited until I got home to open it on my laptop, hands shaking. When I saw the word "congratulations," I actually yelled out loud. I ran downstairs. Grandma Dorothy happened to be there that afternoon helping my mom with some cooking. I showed her the email and she burst into tears. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Your grandfather would be so proud," she kept saying. So proud. I called my parents at work. They sounded happy, congratulated me, but there was something in their voices I could not quite place. A hesitation. I brushed it off, thinking they were just busy or tired. The next week I started looking at the actual costs. Princeton was expensive, really expensive. About $80,000 per year for tuition, room, board, and fees. 4 years would total around $320,000. My trust fund of $200,000 would cover a huge chunk. I had also received a merit scholarship worth $15,000 per year, which would help. I figured I could work part-time during school and summers to make up the difference. It was doable. I felt like I was floating. My future was bright. Everything was falling into place. Then came that Friday night, 2 weeks after I got my acceptance letter. My dad came home from work and immediately said, "Family meeting after dinner. Everyone needs to be there." His tone was serious, heavier than usual. I figured maybe we were going to talk about logistics for Princeton, housing options, course selection, practical stuff. We ate dinner mostly in silence. My mom kept glancing at Madison, who seemed unusually quiet. After we cleared the plates, we all sat down at the dining room table. My parents on one side, Madison and me on the other. I noticed Grandma Dorothy was not there, which struck me as odd since she was usually involved in big family discussions. My dad folded his hands on the table and looked at Madison. "Madison has some exciting news to share." My sister's face lit up. She held out her left hand, showing off a diamond ring I had not noticed before. "Derek proposed. We are getting married." Derek was her boyfriend of about 8 months. Nice enough guy. Worked in sales or something. I had only met him a handful of times. "That is great," I said, genuinely happy for her. "Congratulations," Madison beamed. "We are thinking a summer wedding. Late July before you head off to Princeton." "Sounds perfect," I said. Then my dad continued. "The thing is, weddings are expensive. We have been looking at venues and catering, and the costs add up quickly." My mom jumped in. "We want to give Madison the wedding she deserves. Something beautiful. Something memorable." I nodded, still not seeing where this was going. "We have run the numbers," my dad said slowly. "A proper wedding, the kind Madison has always dreamed about, is going to cost around $150,000. Nice venue, 200 guests, flowers, photographer, band, honeymoon in Europe. All of it." I felt my stomach start to twist. "We have some savings," my mom added, "but not nearly enough." "So we were thinking," she paused, "maybe you could help out with your college fund." The words hung in the air. I stared at them, waiting for the punchline. This had to be a joke. "Help out," I finally said. "That money is for my education." "We know, honey," my mom said quickly. "But you can take out student loans. Lots of kids do. It is totally normal." "Your sister only gets married once," my dad added. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime event." Madison looked at me with pleading eyes. "I would not ask if it was not important, Ezra." My mind was racing. They were serious. They actually wanted me to hand over my college fund for a wedding. "I need to think about this," I managed to say, my voice tight. "Do not take too long," my dad said. "We need to start putting down deposits soon if we want to secure the good vendors." I stood up and walked to my room, feeling like the floor had disappeared beneath my feet. I sat on my bed, staring at the Princeton acceptance letter pinned to my bulletin board. How was this even a question? That money was mine, for my future, for my education. But as I lay there that night, I could not shake the guilt creeping in. Was I being selfish? Was I putting my own dreams above my sister's happiness? The next morning, I tried to get more information. I found my mom in the kitchen making coffee. "What happened to Madison's college fund?" I asked. She stiffened slightly. "She used some of it for community college and other things." "What other things?" "Ezra, I do not think we need to go through every detail. Mom, if you are asking me to give up my fund, I deserve to know what happened to hers." She sighed. "She bought a car." took some classes that did not work out, made some investments that did not pan out. It is gone, okay? She made some mistakes, but we do not hold that against her. She is family. I felt a surge of frustration. Madison had blown through $200,000 on a car and failed ventures, and now I was supposed to bail her out. Over the next few days, the pressure intensified. My dad cornered me after dinner one night. "You are being selfish, son. I thought we raised you better than this." "Princeton will always be there," he continued. "You can defer for a year, work, save up, then go. But your sister's wedding needs to happen now. Derek's family is already planning." My mom took a different approach. She got emotional. "I thought I raised you to care about family. Your grandma would be so disappointed if she knew you were refusing to help your sister." That one stung. Grandma Dorothy meant everything to me, but something felt wrong about invoking her name this way. Madison started her own campaign. At first, she tried to be understanding. "I know it is a big ask, Ezra. I really do." But as the days wore on, her tone changed. "You have always been the favorite, the smart one, the perfect one. I just want one special day that is about me. You will get into Princeton again if you defer, but I might never get married again. Derek's family is already judging me because we cannot afford a fancy wedding." I felt completely alone. My friends thought the whole thing was insane. "Dude, that is your money," my best friend Tyler said. "They cannot just take it." But they did not understand the constant pressure, the guilt, the feeling of being the bad guy in my own family. I did not call Grandma Dorothy. I was terrified of worrying her or putting her in an awkward position between me and my parents. A week after the initial family meeting, my parents demanded a decision. "We need to know Ezra," my dad said. "The venues are booking up." "I cannot give up my college fund," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "That is my future." His face reddened. "Your future. What about your sister's future? Marriage is an investment. Education can wait." "I will lose my scholarship if I defer," I tried to explain. "Student loans will bury me for decades. Grandpa left that money specifically for education." "Your grandfather would have wanted family to stick together," my dad shot back. "You are 18 years old. You do not understand real sacrifice yet. We have raised you, fed you, clothed you, paid for everything for 18 years, he continued. "You owe us." Madison started crying. "You are ruining everything. Everyone will think I am a failure if I cannot have a proper wedding. Derek's family already looks down on us because we are not as well off as them." My mom put her arm around Madison. "Ezra, you have to understand. Madison has struggled. Things have always come easy for you with your grades and your scholarships. It is time you helped carry some of the load for this family." I felt trapped, cornered, like no matter what I said, I was the villain. "I can contribute $10,000 from my savings from my part-time jobs over the years," I offered. "That is everything I have, but not the trust fund." "10,000. My dad scoffed. "That is insulting. We need the full amount." 2 more weeks crawled by. I held my ground, but the tension in the house was suffocating. Madison stopped speaking to me entirely. My parents communicated in cold, clipped sentences. Then came the ultimatum. It was late April. My dad called me downstairs one evening. The whole family was assembled again. This time there was no discussion, just an announcement. "We have talked to the bank," my dad said. "We are going to access your trust fund for the wedding." My blood ran cold. "You cannot do that. Grandma set it up for me." "Your grandmother gave us power of attorney when she established the funds," my mom said. "She trusts us to make the right decisions for this family." "This is theft," I said, my voice rising for the first time. "That is my money." "Watch your tone," my dad snapped. "We are your parents. We know what is best." "See," Madison said, "he does not care about me at all. He is willing to let me be humiliated rather than help." My mom started crying. "I cannot believe my own son is calling us thieves, after everything we have done for you." I felt like I was drowning. These people who were supposed to protect me, to support me, were stealing my future right in front of my eyes, and they were making me feel guilty about being upset. I ran upstairs and locked my door. I sat on my bed shaking. I looked at my Princeton letter, at the course catalog I had been studying, at the dorm assignment I had just received. It was all slipping away. Then a thought hit me. Grandma Dorothy. She was the trustee. She would know if they could actually do this. I grabbed my phone. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely type. I sent her a text. "Can we talk tomorrow morning? It is important." She responded immediately. "Of course, sweetheart. Is everything okay?" "I will explain tomorrow," I typed back. I barely slept that night. At 7 in the morning I called her. The words poured out. I told her everything. The initial request, the weeks of pressure, the ultimatum last night, the claim that they could access the trust fund. When I finished, there was a long silence. "Oh, Ezra," she finally said, her voice heavy. "I was afraid something like this might happen. That is why your grandfather and I set things up the way we did." "What do you mean?" "They cannot touch that money," she said firmly. "The trust is ironclad. Only you can access those funds when you turn 18 and enroll in an accredited university. Your parents have zero legal access." Relief flooded through me. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely certain. Your grandfather was an engineer. He thought through every detail. He wanted to make sure this money went exactly where he intended." "But Mom said you gave them power of attorney." "I gave them power of attorney over my personal affairs if I become incapacitated," Grandma explained. "That has nothing to do with the trust. The trust is completely separate and legally protected." I felt like I could breathe again for the first time in weeks. "I am coming over this afternoon," Grandma said. "We are going to settle this once and for all. You did the right thing calling me Ezra." At 3 in the afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Grandma Dorothy standing there with Grandpa's old leather briefcase in her hand. Inside were documents, legal papers, the trust agreement. My parents looked shocked when they saw her walk into the living room. "Mom, what are you doing here?" my dad asked. "I heard about your plan to raid Ezra's college fund," she said calmly. "We need to have a conversation." We all sat down. Grandma placed the briefcase on the coffee table and opened it. She pulled out a thick stack of papers. "This is the irrevocable educational trust established by my late husband for his grandchildren," she said. "I think you have forgotten what is actually in it." She opened to the first page and began reading aloud. "The funds shall be accessible only by the named beneficiaries upon reaching the age of 18 and enrolling in an accredited post-secondary educational institution. The trustee has a fiduciary duty to ensure these funds are used solely for educational purposes. Under no circumstances shall parents or guardians have withdrawal rights." My dad tried to interrupt. "Mom, we are just trying to do what is best for the whole family." Grandma held up her hand. "Best for the whole family, or best for Madison?" She turned to Madison. "Where was this family-first attitude when you wasted your own trust fund?" Madison's face went pale. Grandma continued, her voice harder than I had ever heard it. "You had $200,000, Madison. You spent $35,000 on 1 year of community college that you did not finish. Another $45,000 on a car that you totaled within 12 months. The rest disappeared on failed business ideas and expensive trips with friends. I watched it happen. I warned you then that you were enabling her poor choices." "I was trying to find myself," Madison said weakly. "And now you want to take your brother's opportunity because you squandered yours?" Grandma asked. My mom jumped in. "That is harsh. Madison is getting married. That is an important life event." "Marriage is wonderful," Grandma agreed, "but not at the expense of her brother's education. Derek has a job. They can have a modest wedding and build their life from there like most young couples do." My dad tried a different tactic. "What if Ezra agrees to share? We could convince him it is the right thing to do." Grandma looked directly at him. "You mean coerce him? That is exactly why your father-in-law set up the trust this way." Then she dropped the bomb. "Before my husband died, he told me something. He said he was worried about how you two always favored Madison, how you made excuses for her while expecting Ezra to be perfect. He said, "Dorothy, make sure Ezra's fund is protected. I do not trust them not to give it away to Madison." The silence in the room was deafening. My parents looked stunned. Madison was crying. I felt vindicated and heartbroken at the same time. "I have a legal obligation to protect this trust," Grandma said. "If you continue to pressure Ezra, I will involve attorneys. And frankly, your father would be ashamed of what you have tried to do." After a long moment, I found my voice. "I want to say something." Everyone looked at me. "I love Madison. I am happy she is getting married. But asking me to sacrifice Princeton, something I have worked toward since I was 14 years old, that is not love. That is manipulation." I took a deep breath. "I offered $10,000 from my own savings. That is everything I have. You can have a beautiful wedding for $50,000 or $60,000. Plenty of people do. Or Madison and Derek can wait and save up. But I will not give up my education for a party." Grandma stood and took my hand. "I am proud of you. Standing up for yourself is harder than any exam you will ever take." My dad finally spoke, his voice tired. "Fine. We cannot force you. But do not expect us to be happy about this decision." "I do not need you to be happy about it," I said quietly. "I just need you to respect it. This is my life, my future." As Grandma prepared to leave, she handed me a copy of all the trust documents. "Keep these somewhere safe. And remember, you are not being selfish. You are being responsible." After she left, the house felt different. The air was clearer, but something fundamental had broken. My relationship with my parents would never be quite the same. But my Princeton dream was safe. My future was secure. And I had learned a hard lesson about family boundaries and standing up for myself. The weeks following the confrontation were difficult. My parents barely spoke to me beyond basic necessities. Madison avoided me completely. The atmosphere in our house felt like walking on broken glass. Madison's wedding went ahead in late July, just before I was set to leave for Princeton. They scaled back significantly. 100 guests instead of 200. A smaller venue. A shorter honeymoon. The total cost came in around $60,000. My parents took out a loan. Madison and Derek contributed from their savings. They made it work without my trust fund. I was invited to the wedding, but I was not asked to be a groomsman as originally planned. I went, wore a suit, smiled politely, and congratulated the couple. But I felt like an outsider at my own sister's wedding. Some relatives whispered and stared. A few understood my position. Others clearly thought I was selfish. I stayed through the ceremony and dinner, then left before the dancing started. Those final weeks at home were lonely. I missed the closeness I once had with my family. Late at night, I would wonder if I had made the right choice. But every time I looked at that Princeton acceptance letter, I knew I had. September arrived. I packed my belongings into my dad's car for the drive to New Jersey. The ride was mostly silent. When we arrived at the dorm, my parents helped me carry boxes to my room, said a brief goodbye, and left. No emotional farewell, no tears, just a functional transaction. But once they were gone and I was alone in my new dorm room, I felt something shift. This was my space, my future, my choice. Princeton was everything I had hoped for and more. The engineering program challenged me in ways high school never had. I joined study groups, made friends who shared my passion for learning, and threw myself into my coursework. I landed a research assistant position with a professor working on sustainable energy systems. The work was intense but fulfilling. I called Grandma Dorothy every Sunday. She would ask about my classes, my friends, my life. She visited once each semester, always bringing homemade cookies and staying at a nearby hotel so she could take me out for dinner. During those visits, she would tell me how proud Grandpa would be, how I was living the dream he had worked so hard to make possible. "You made the right choice," she would always say. Never doubt that. My relationship with my parents thawed slowly. By sophomore year, they started visiting occasionally. The conversations were still stiff and uncomfortable, but they were trying. During one visit, my mom admitted quietly, "Maybe we pushed too hard. We just wanted everyone to be happy." It was not exactly an apology, but it was acknowledgement. My dad never said the words directly, but he started asking about my career plans and seemed genuinely interested in my internship opportunities. Madison and I had no contact through most of my freshman year. Then during the summer before junior year, she called me out of the blue. "I owe you an apology," she said. "I was jealous. You always seemed to have everything figured out while I was floundering. That was not fair to put on you." "I appreciate that," I told her. "And I am sorry your wedding was not everything you had imagined." "It was still beautiful," she said. "Derek and I are happy. That is what really matters. I see that now." Our relationship improved after that conversation. We were not as close as we had been as kids, but we found a new, healthier dynamic. She stopped resenting my success, and I stopped judging her choices. When I graduated from Princeton 4 years later, Grandma Dorothy sat in the front row. My parents came too. So did Madison and Derek. As I walked across that stage to receive my degree in electrical engineering cum laude, I caught Grandma's eye. She was crying and smiling at the same time. I had a job offer waiting, a Fortune 500 company, good salary, benefits, everything I had worked for. After the ceremony, Grandma hugged me tight. "Your grandfather would be bursting with pride right now." "I could not have done this without you," I told her. "You protected me when I needed it most." "That is what family does," she said. "Real family supports your dreams. They do not ask you to give them up." Looking back now, I have learned some crucial lessons. Family is important. Family is precious. But family does not mean you owe them your entire future. Love does not require you to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. I learned that boundaries are not selfish. Standing up for yourself, especially to the people closest to you, takes courage. It might cost you relationships, at least temporarily, but sacrificing your dreams for someone else's poor planning or entitlement helps no one in the long run. Some people will try to guilt you into giving up what is rightfully yours. They will use words like family loyalty and obligation. They will make you feel like the villain for protecting your own interests. That is manipulation, not love. My grandfather understood this. That is why he created an ironclad trust. He knew that sometimes the people who love you most can also hurt you the most often without even realizing it. Legal protection mattered. Grandma Dorothy's willingness to stand up to her own son mattered. Grandma passed away 2 years after my graduation. It was peaceful. She went to sleep one night and simply did not wake up. Before she died, I had the chance to thank her properly, to tell her that she had saved my life in a very real way. She smiled and said, "You made your grandfather's sacrifice worth it. That is all he ever wanted." So if you are facing pressure to give up your dreams for someone else's convenience, remember this. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to choose yourself. That is not selfish. That is survival. Could I have handled things more gently? Probably. Could I have communicated better? Maybe. But at the core, I chose my future over their expectations. And that is not something I need to apologize for. Sometimes the people you love will ask you to sacrifice everything for them. It is okay to refuse. It is okay to protect your dreams. It is okay to stand firm even when everyone is telling you that you are wrong. Looking back, I do not regret my decision. Not for a second. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been pressured by family to give up something important to you? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below and share your story. If this resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories about family, tough choices, and standing up for yourself. And share this with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes people need permission to choose themselves, and your share might be exactly what they need to see today. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you find the courage to protect your own dreams, whatever they may be. Remember, your future matters. Your goals matter. You matter. Do not let anyone convince you otherwise. Take care of yourselves out there, and until next time, keep fighting for what you believe in.